All right. Hi, everyone, and thanks for joining us today. This is Filecoin Core Devs call number 35. We are currently joined by the Filecoin Foundation and representatives from all 4 Filecoin network implementations. And today, we actually have a lighter agenda than usual. So as always, we will start with updates from any of the implementation teams. And we do not currently have any standing agenda items. So if anyone has any walk-on topics or other things they'd like to discuss at the end of this call today, they are welcome to bring those up then. So to get started, anything that any of our implementation teams would like to bring up for group discussion? Any events, questions, comments, or concerns, especially as we continue to prepare for the next network upgrade? Yes, Ayush?
Sorry, okay. Yeah, I guess from the forest side, yeah, I just wanted to bring up, we were talking a bit about using the FVM potentially for this network upgrade within Forest. And I just wanted to, I guess, get clarity on what, if we did that, whether we would be using the whole WASM interpreter or if we would just be kind of pulling the FVM actors as a dependency, and what kind of, yeah, just wanted to discuss that, I suppose.
I see that neither Raul nor Steb is here. I can slightly speak to that. I think it would be the former. It would be using the actual WASM interpreter and running it, running through the FVM on mainnet is the proposal. I'm not. It shouldn't take too large a refactor for you folks, unlike those of us in Goland on Lotus. So I think the questions would be around getting it done in, like, having things ready in time and having enough confidence in it for that to become your kind of your mainnet operation if you wanted to do that. Yes, I think that's the proposal, if that answers your question.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Good to know. Yeah, that answers it. Cool. Yeah, I will. Yeah, discuss with the team as to whether we can do that in time or that kind of thing. But cool. Thanks.
Sounds good. I would also just maybe pull Raul into a conversation if you can, just to make sure everyone's aligned on what the work involved would be, what the risks would be, what timelines could look like, and so on.
Mm-hmm. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
And it should look like you also may have had a separate issue related to Lotus specifically.
Ish, I wanted to give a quick Snapdeals update. So we have our dedicated test network for Snapdeals right now that we're calling ButterflyNet, SnapNet, something to that effect. We've been tested, like it's been live for a couple of weeks now, and honestly, it's been a little rough getting Snapdeals successfully working. We do have some successful upgrades on the network by this point, but there's a few bugs being ironed out, both in proofs and potentially the Lotus mining FSM. But yeah, it's getting better. We're hoping to get a fairly high success rate soon, but we definitely have some more kinks to be ironed out. This is good though, because this is all happening kind of on this dedicated test network, and we are coming up on having real params drag and can talk to the trusted setup process. But once that happens, then it'll be going on calibration net, which is our real test network. So this is almost like pre-testing, if that makes sense. So hopefully by the time we get onto the primary test network, things are working much more reliably. And then by the time we're on mainnet, it's smooth sailing.
That's great. And Dragon, I think the last time we all convened, Trusted Setup was scheduled to end yesterday on January 26th. Is that the timeline?
Yeah, Ayush gave me a great intro with the last sentence. Yeah, so we actually this morning started uploading the params, so preparing everything for an additional round of testing or calibration. But Trusted Setup as a ceremony ended yesterday very successfully. We did all 4 circuits, and thanks to everybody who helped. And I'm doing a blog post to share more details about it. This is similar to the process we had before, and also what we need to unlock with this, at the end of this, like posting a blog, whatever, is for everybody to verify the params we got. So making sure that actually everything checks out. This is also going to be publicly available from next week. This is kind of the what you do after Trusted Setup, but this and the params upload for calibration are now the 2 next steps. But everything runs smooth in terms of like trusted setup, apart from the long hours and multiple zones that we needed to cover, time zones. But in terms of getting the end result is there.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Yeah, great.
One question about that, I realize I'm not fully in the loop. I know that as we were getting trusted setup started, there was kind of a last minute idea from Kuba about
Yes.
including circuits for transformation proofs that we might want to be, that might be useful in the future. Did we wind up including that?
Yes. So this is what we did. This is what we call we are calling Snapdeal's Poseidon circuits. So those are the two additional circuits next to the empty sector ones for like they're unlocking Snapdeals. This is kind of, we're also seeing into the future, and we added the Poseidon circuits there. So that's why I said like 4 circuits in total. Yeah.
Nice, very good.
And I wanted to check, so the original timeline for the V15 upgrade has the upgraded CalibNet going live on February 8th. I know that when we last spoke, I think Venus, potentially Forest, and Lotus were all planning to upgrade on February 8th. But we had also previously discussed that this would sort of be a soft upgrade, and we wouldn't ask all implementation teams to try and sync that upgrade together to make space for Snapdeals. I wanted to quickly get a check-in from each of the teams and see how you're thinking about the CalibNet upgrade process and what your rough timeline is for joining that upgrade period. So I guess, Lotus, you want to kick us off since?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
totally. Yeah, we're aiming to make the February 8th timeline. Most of the mining power on Calibration Net is Lotus based, and so we'll have to make that timeline. But we're feeling like it should be good, barring the bugs that I mentioned with just getting things working more reliably. The good part is almost none of them are consensus critical. So
Great. And Stephen, your icon is right next to Ayosha's on my screen. Any update for Venus?
Yeah, Venus team is working on the testing on Butterfly network and right now, and we're testing. I think all other functions works well with the version 15, and we're working on the Snapdeal testing. Actually, we experienced that the very large memory usage that are expected. And so we're still working on that. We know that okay, the Snapdeal actually need the memory actually larger than 128 gigabytes. So I would think that we need better test bed actually. We're working on that. So I don't think we have some problem with the code, but we need to test to go through all of this in next days. This is one thing, and also okay, the whole team in China will be on holiday from the day after tomorrow, and we will be back on February 8th. If everything works okay, I think we'll meet the time, February 8th. Okay, otherwise we may need a few more days. That is the case, I think.
Sure. That sounds great. And I hope you all have a nice Lunar New Year. And that's a great way to really jump right back into network ops when you come back. So sounds great. Yeah. Elizabeth or Lee, any update on Forest and the CalibNet sync?
Yeah, for sure. We're still just continuing to work on the FIPs for the next upgrade. And then as well, we have someone working on the CalibNet sync for the current network. So that should be done by the CalibNet, the date that we want to be testing on CalibNet ideally. I don't know. So yeah, looking good at the moment. Yeah, just gotta take into account if we want to do the WASM update to use the FVM as well. But yeah, that's about it. Yeah. Lee, do you have anything else?
No, nothing on mine.
Great, thank you guys. And a little bit separately, Maxim, I don't know if you have any updates from the Fuhan team. I know you're still working on the upgraded miner release. Anything you want to share with the rest of the team?
Yeah, so regarding the network V15 upgrade on the CalibNet, I think it's possible that we'll be able to participate from node's perspective. We most probably will not make a miner work by February 8th, just because we are currently still testing it on a test net, like without V15 upgrades. The nodes, however, are basically incorporated most of the changes. I will check tomorrow with the team what exactly are we missing, if any. But as far as I remember, we have incorporated most of the changes related to the V15 upgrade on the node level. So we might also consider joining the CalibNet upgrade. Nothing particular I wanted to mention. So.
Great, thank you. Any other questions for any of the teams or any other updates or items you'd like to discuss?
Yeah, I wanted to get back to what Stephen was flagging about memory consumption with the Snapdeals proofs. Yeah, definitely not a bug on your end. We're seeing it too, and honestly, I really don't understand why. Like the replica update of a 512 megabyte sector was taking more than 128 gigs of RAM, which is crazy to think about. So mostly just want to say, yeah, it's nothing on your end. That seems to be the case right now. I'm not sure how bad it is for 32 and 64 gigabyte sectors, especially relative to like let's say the proof commits snarks that we calculate. But yeah, some optimizations need to happen there. Dragon, I don't know if you know any more about why it's so high, especially for like small sectors, but it's confusing.
Yeah. Sorry, we have been busy with wrapping the trusted set of verms, but I raised the thread with the guys, and they will look into it. So I will come back with an answer. So far, we don't have like the conclusion why it's so high. On a like kind of looking into it with fresh eyes from today will probably give us better results.
Sounds good. Yeah, hopefully it doesn't just come down to bell person needs to be better because everything seems to come down to bell person needs to be better. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. So one question here. Yeah, from the implementation point of view, will the memory usage will be larger if we use larger sector size, or it will keep the same because of parameters.
I'm not sure. But I think it'll be roughly the same. I need to confirm that though. We need to run an experiment for it.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. But yeah, right now the fact that a 512 megabyte sector is using 128 gigs of RAM is just what?
All right. Anything else? Any other questions or open items for discussion? All right.
Are you referring specifically to implementers?
Sorry, implementers, but this is a great segue, Dudley, if you have any security items you'd like to bring up. Yes.
So I'm very gracious to Matty from Sigma Prime, who's on the call, because it is way too late where he is right now, but he is leading the Filecoin fuzzer project, which I believe started maybe a week or so ago, and he's going to give us a bit of an intro to it. So thank you for being here.
Hopefully. No worries. Thanks, Dudley. Hey, everyone. A bunch of familiar names and faces. So for those who haven't met before, my name is Mehdi. I'm a co-founder and director of Sigma Prime. We are a blockchain security firm. We've been working quite extensively with protocol labs over the past couple of years, reviewing DRAN, Filecoin implementations, Forest, Lotus, and whatnot. Very happy to be here. It's 3 a.m. for me, but very, very happy to be here and very happy to introduce this project that we'll be working on over the coming months. Some of you may be familiar with a similar initiative called Beacon Fuzz. So Sigma Prime has been developing and maintaining a set of differential fuzzing frameworks for the Ethereum Foundation. This had led to the identification of over 40 bugs across all ETH2 clients, or sorry, Ethereum consensus clients. Yeah, so we thought it could be potentially interesting to try to replicate this for Filecoin. So we'll first start targeting Forest and Lotus. Ideally, we'd like to expand the scope of this activity to other clients. So I'll probably reach out to Venus and the C++ implementation at some point. But the idea is to use a combination of coverage guided techniques along with structural fuzzing and differential fuzzing to spot discrepancies between clients when it comes to state transition functions primarily. We'll obviously be monitoring for standard panics and crashes, but the focus here will be to try to dig up those logic flaws, if that makes sense, logic bugs in those implementations. So yeah, what we have in mind to kick things off is probably spend a bunch of time on the encoding and decoding. So just making sure that the CBOR marshalling and unmarshalling is conducted in a sort of homogeneous fashion across the board. We'll also be looking at IPLD. I think it's probably a prime candidate for differential fuzzing. And obviously we'll start hitting the specs actors implementations and the actual state transitions at the consensus layer. So yeah, we got started last week, as Dudley mentioned, just getting our head across the different code bases, starting to take things apart, and no outstanding questions at the moment. You know, we've been in touch with the Lotus guys and the Forest guys quite a lot lately. So I've got contacts directly in these teams. So I'll be making sure that we reach out to these people when needed. I can't promise I'll be attending these calls very regularly, but I'll do my best to try to provide updates at least once a month. This is expected. This is expected to last. This project is expected to last about 4 months. So obviously, we'll keen to be working together and learn from each other, and hopefully help surface some interesting behaviors in your clients.
That's great. Thanks so much for joining us, Mehdi. And it's nice to meet you also. We'll talk about this in a second, but the time challenge is an issue for quite a few folks who regularly would like to attend this call. So if you would like to come ask questions or provide updates on the Fuzzer project as your team continues to work on it, we may be introducing 2 meetings in the future, one of which will be a little bit more hospitable to your time zone. So I can flag it for you in particular if it's of interest. That is regularly attending the Core Devs call. So
great to hear. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions for Mehdi or Dudley about the Fuzzer project or any others?
As a quick note, one of the deliverables of this project is going to be a Docker image and instructions on how to set things up with GitHub Actions. Obviously, it might depend a little bit on how people have actually implemented their code base and getting that set up, but hopefully we can kind of get this set up in a sort of, again, I don't know enough about the project to know how fast this may be, but in a continuous integration kind of way, or Git hooks sort of way.
Yeah, totally. That's the end goal. Hopefully we'll leave you guys with a nice framework that you can continue to build on.
Great. Thanks again. Dudley, any other items from you?
Not really. I will say that we've got 2 decent candidates for a security operations engineer at Filecoin Foundation, which will hopefully speed up a lot more of our bug bounty processes and things like that. So here's hoping.
Great. So I will jump into the FIPS update then. So on the FIPS side, we're very pleased and thrilled that both the DataCat Management FIP and SnapDeals have passed their last call status. Excellent, because it would be quite an issue at this point had they not. Very excited that we actually didn't receive any additional questions, concerns, or any sort of more negative community feedback about either of these proposals. So they did move into accepted status unanimously, which is great. So we're ready to implement them on chain, obviously, in the next network upgrade. So no changes or any specific flags in regards to either of those. Going forward, however, we're going to make sort of more of a concerted effort to sort of decouple this idea of FIP passages and FIP statuses from the actual network implementation itself. This was always the intent, and this is, I think, how these things are managed in the past, but we've gotten away from that since we have this ad hoc upgrade timeline that we continue to work around, and since we all obviously work very closely together. But going forward, we should begin to think more about timelines in terms of overall team needs, and then we can use this call to identify FIPs that are possible for implementation, see what team priorities are, et cetera, and sort of more clearly designate sort of what is available and what sort of community consensus exists around specific issues, and then focus on the implementation process. And if you're curious about this or you have questions, obviously I'm happy to answer them now. But we also have some documentation that was built up too in the governance section of that FIPS discussion forum on GitHub. So I'd be happy to point you to it. That being said, I do want to flag, I've had some conversations privately with Raul in the past couple of weeks about planning for the V16 network upgrade. Obviously, this is a priority, and we've known that there would probably be a pretty tight timeline between V15 and V16. And so my priority is to know by the next core devs call, which will be mid-February, whether or not we can confirm that timeline and begin to share it more publicly as well. So in the past, I know specifically it's been the Lotus team's preference that there be at least 6 weeks between network upgrades. But given the pressure, and usually more is preferred, of course, but given sort of the pressure and the interest to make sure that the FVM FIPS are available to the community and that the actual runtime is integrated within the protocol and the timeline that's been projected and discussed for the last couple of months, I know that the FVM team is really interested in scheduling that upgrade for the very beginning of April. So we don't have any set date yet, but I wanted to float this timeline, preferably in the first week of April even, and see if there are any immediate thoughts or reactions to this.
My thought is that's going to be hard to achieve, but achievable. The 6-week, like kind of the 6-week timeline, the hard ask from Lotus is mostly, well, can be shortened depending on how well we can parallelize, basically. So essentially, it's more of a 6-week testing window as opposed to 6 week between upgrades. So long as we can start testing our V16 upgrade and everything around that, before SnapDeals upgrade, before OSNAP actually goes live on mainnet, I think that will be workable. Whether or not we'll be able to do that, I think will become a little clearer in the next couple of weeks, as you know, once we have high enough confidence in SnapDeals, and that slightly becomes okay, you're done, you're going out there into the world, and we can switch attention to focusing on FVM and spinning up another test network. We can retire this one and create a new one, and so on. So yeah, I think a early April, first week of April would work. We just have to be good about running many things in parallel, both like kind of the Lotus team, the FEM team, the really everyone involved, the infrastructure for these test networks, and so on. But I think we can make it work.
Yeah. I would think the FVM is a very big thing, is because that yeah, we change the spec actors, and also we change the virtual machine totally. And yeah, from the current process we have, because the FM is reference FM implementation just open sourced, and we have some study on that, and we say that actually, yeah, even the spec actors, which is not fully compliant with the current version we're running right now, and they're only which is still old. So I would think that there would take some time to make it up to date. So okay, I would think that if it depends the whole FM part testing could be done and make it compliant with the current with the network version 15 after the 15 is on board. I agree that we need at least 6 weeks after that for testing, and which is the minimum period we need to upgrade. So I would think that the time is very, very tight. Even we can achieve that.
Given that there are so many changes to the Rust actors in particular, Elizabeth or Lee, do you have any immediate concerns, especially, or just thoughts in general about an early April upgrade?
Yeah, I think whatever Elizabeth mentioned before related to the WASM stuff, I think that'll affect the rest of our timeline. Like Ayush mentioned, it does seem a little tight, given that we are going for network 15 on March, and then it's like 4 weeks. It's definitely tight. However, because the Rust sectors, like the FVM has that, it may not be as probably big of a challenge for us compared to, like, let's say the Venus team, because they're in different Golang. However, I think depending on how we are able to integrate the Rust sectors along with the WASM stuff, I would say we'll be able to give more context in probably the next core dev call, or that's going to be my thought process. Not sure if Elizabeth has some additional input on that. Otherwise, that's kind of what our input on this is.
Yeah, like the timeline for the next upgrade, I guess. I think it kind of depends how much effort the integration with FVM turns out to be.
Yeah.
I think ideally we will be able to do it by this upgrade, so then by the next upgrade it wouldn't even be an issue at all. But I don't know. It's really depends on how things go. So it's being pretty optimistic, I guess. Like Lisa will probably have more info on whether this is going to be feasible or not by the next call. I think we'll mention that the interfaces didn't change too much, so hopefully it won't be too painful. And I think by the next upgrade we definitely will be able to do it.
Didn't change at all, I think. So that should be good.
Okay, nice. Yeah, good to know. That's very helpful.
Yeah, sorry, a bit of an aside, but I really like that we're getting to a place where you guys have the easiest job after like 2 years of it always being, the Lotus, like everyone in Go having their own bubble, and you guys like being like, guys, we have so much more work to do than you folks. And now we're getting to a place like, well, it's fine. Rust has already got it done. You guys can suffer.
Yeah, and I do want to say that in all of these conversations I mentioned having with Raul, when we discussed having a really tight timeline for V16, it was on the preconditions that future upgrades in general after the FVM go live should be much easier on all implementation teams, of course, right? So potentially a short-term stretch for long-term ease. But Stephen, did you have something you wanted to add? I think you tried to jump in before.
I'm sorry. Which one? Yeah, sorry. I didn't get here.
Oh, sorry. Did you have anything to add? I thought you had tried to jump in before, but maybe not.
This is not about the FVM.
Sure.
Yeah, this is about the the FAPE about the beneficiary address. Are you talking about this?
We weren't, but we can. I think if there's
okay.
I think if there's any final notes on V16, it's not clear. I was hoping to have a list of potential FIPS for that one. it's not quite clear yet what those might look like. But again, I think it's more important that we discuss the timeline separate from potential accepted FIPS. That could be a separate conversation. I didn't want to confuse the two. And just as a note, our next Core Devs call is going to be on February 10th. And at that point, that will give us 7 to 8 weeks prior to the expected FVM launch. So I'm glad we've been able to start this conversation. We should continue it and plan to have more of a confirmed timeline then. But just to keep in mind and flag as things change and dependencies change, again, if any concerns do bubble to the surface, you're welcome to flag before the next call as well. But Stephen, if you want to talk about your beneficiary address, that's great also.
Yeah, I can take a few minutes to talk about this. Okay, sure. Actually, I have a draft of the FAPE. I can put it into the chat window. Yeah, if it's okay, I can share my screen. Okay.
Sure. Do I need to make you the host? Let's see.
Yeah, I can share here. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, here is about the the FAPE. The number is 28, but I don't think this is a valid number right now, because I say this is taken by another one. So this can be changed later on. Basically, we have this proposal is because we want to separate the beneficial control from owner, is because for myself as a service as a storage provider and the software and service provider, we say a lot of about the for small and medium providers who want to join Filecoin network, but they are always facing about the funding issue, and so there are a lending market for the Filecoin, which is existing offline chain actually. So here we propose this to separate the beneficial control from the owner, so that the Filecoin node future rewards could be the collateral as the power growth to support the lending market, and also which you could also support the financial control, even if you maintain a kind of larger load, and you have a team actually to control the load. You have some maintenance engineers, and you have the financial part, and you also have the owner, and this also can support that to make it much easier to control your load. This is how about this? So here in the proposal, I propose to add one rule to a node. Because we have the owner, we have worker, and we have controllers. For one storage provider node, and here we add one more. We call it beneficiary, and to be the destination of the withdraw and merged for the balance to the beneficiary address. To be back compliant. So we once we have this, we could to have the beneficiary address to be the same address as owner while we do the state transition after the upgrading. So which could be the same. Okay, without and actually from the functionality point of view, to maintain the same address. And we also introduce one method for the miner, and after we call it change beneficiary, which means to change beneficiary address or to change beneficiary other informations. There are two kinds of information for the beneficiary to limit the beneficiary address the privilege or the quota. So we introduced the beneficiary infrastructure into the miner infrastructure to include a few items here. And one is about the beneficial quota, which means that if the beneficial address is not the same as owner address, and it could have a quota be assigned, and also there is one field called used quota. So it is communicated balance withdrawn to beneficiary. So that so the used quota must be less than or equal to beneficiary quota. If it is equal to beneficiary quota, and so the beneficiary address will be expired actually, because it used up the quota. And another parameter is beneficiary expiration. To set ahead, the beneficiary will be expired. We have this two field to actually to protect the owner for some cases. For example, when the owner to have a deal with a lender to get some funding of the Filecoin to fund their power growth as collaterals, it may have an agreement of the quota, and they will have the timeline for the agreement. So this is to match them, to match that an agreement about this, and all of this can be changed with the change beneficiary method actually, with the propose and the confirmation process. And here we have some details, progress and designs here. I don't want to go through this here in this meeting, but you guys can go through this, and please provide some comments for this one. Okay, and for some other design rationales, and there are at least some use cases, and the benefit it could bring to us, and also about the security consideration and incentive consideration. There are consideration about this, and and overall it should be okay. And I discussed with a few people about this, and we get some comments from for example Alex and Jennifer and other community members. I think we agree about this, and I also welcome more comments about this, and also the product consideration and also the implementation. I today add in two pictures about the change beneficiary proposal process, and actually it's about it's almost the same as a change owner. We have the owner to be the proposer, and we have the beneficiary and the new beneficiary to approve the proposal by sending the same command, same command with the same parameters. Okay. I think that's all about this. Any comment and any suggestions?
I actually think that the way that you guys have been developing this as a great model for other FIPs too. There's been a lot of back and forth and some really good feedback, like you mentioned, from Alex and Jennifer specifically. And I think it's been great to watch this sort of develop over time. And the level of detail in your FIP draft is great. So thanks so much for doing this.
And by the way, we're working on the detailed implementation in spec actors, and we will have a PR, I would think, recently, within 1 week or two, it will be done soon.
Great. I can actually flag this. We're trying to do weekly updates on governance too, and flag some FIPs that are being very actively worked on for community input. So we can flag this one this week actually. And Stephen, you and I can talk offline too about how you'd like to schedule that last call status.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't after the code is done, and we could have somebody to some reviewers to review the code, and once that is okay, we will call this.
Great. We don't have much time left in the meeting. I do have one more topic I would like to briefly cover, but any other last questions or comments for Stephen? All right, great. So again, of course, we'll add a link to the FIP draft in the 6 meeting notes so everyone can find it more easily. And do take a look and leave comments if you haven't yet. This is a pretty large and detailed FIP, but again, a lot of really good work has gone into this over time. So it would be great if everyone is able to let them know what you think, excuse me, and also add it to the repo so that others can participate in that conversation as well. If we don't have anything else, I do want to briefly return to what we discussed last week, which was potentially changing the way we're scheduling these meetings to be a little bit more effective, not only in how they're structured, but also for people who are in different time zones who may have to join this at really inopportune hours. I posted a poll in the Phil Implementers channel, so thanks to those of you who voted. And it looked like the preferred option slightly was to actually host 2 separate meetings on every Thursday. This is currently the model that the Filecoin Plus governance team uses, so we do have some examples of what can make that work effectively. And since it can be a little difficult to visualize scheduling changes, I have a brief slide, just one that I hope everyone can see. So the proposal is we will keep our currently scheduled meeting, which is bi-weekly, every 2 weeks at 8 a.m. Pacific time. If you need to look, here's a quick reference for what that may look like in your time zone or one close to it. Obviously, this is not an ideal time for people who are in East Asia or Oceania. This is why a lot of, engineers frequently do not join this calls because they would have to do so in the middle of the evening. And we know we're asking a lot from those of you who currently do. Stephen, I think that may be you as well. So the idea is what we will do is have non-mandatory sessions, another one hosted at 4 p.m. PST, which is a little bit more conducive to folks who'd like to join during regular working hours. If you'd like to see what that looks like in your time zone, you can see it here. And the idea is that core devs are obviously welcome to join both of those calls, but it is not mandatory. So you can join one or the other if you prefer. I will join both, of course, and steward information between the two. This model does work pretty well. It is obviously nice to have everyone available for discussion, but asynchronous updates do work. The only requirement is that the meetings would have to be pretty structured to make sure that both groups get the same information. If anyone is presenting a FIP, for example, we would want to schedule this in advance. And if possible, we'd want to see if guest presenters can attend both meetings so that they can answer questions, especially technical questions or implementation related questions. But the key point here is that for regular updates, sort of just open-ended conversations or any other items that you'd like to present, we don't want you to have to schedule your evenings or very early mornings around having to join this call. We want it to be a productive work environment for you. And the idea is that if we host 2 calls, everyone will have a forum that is a little bit more conducive to doing just that. Does anyone have any thoughts, questions, concerns about trying this out? All right, if not, because we do have a pending network upgrade, what I would recommend we do is continue with our current schedule until the V15 network upgrade goes live so that we can continue to coordinate the way we always have. However, I will start to implement that much more formal structure. So we will probably have slides. As I do now, I will reach out for your updates, but we'll be much more strict about making sure that any agenda topics are prepared in advance, just so we can get used to the format. And then beginning, I believe in March, we will switch over to the new format and I'll pre-schedule that dual meeting time so that you'll already see it on your calendar and you can prepare to make the switch. We can try it out. And if we find that it's ineffective or it doesn't work, we can of course revert just to the one-time meeting and potentially consider a different time. But again, there is no globally optimal time for everyone to meet. And so I think this is how other teams have been successful in trying to manage that challenge. So. All right. If there's no questions, comments, feedback, then we'll plan for that. So starting in 2 weeks, which is February 10th, I believe, again, we'll have sort of that new presentation structure. You should see an updated meeting invite on your calendars this afternoon or tomorrow morning, depending on where you are. And if there's no other last minute items, then I will see everyone in 2 weeks. Great.
Sounds good.
Thank you all.
Thanks,
Thank
Nikki.
you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.